Alright folks, let's talk about the good, the bad, the ugly now. Or as I like to call it, the handsome, the heinous, and the downright unhygienic, really. This is the movie that made cowboy hats quite cool, I gotta say, alright? It's poncho's a fashion statement, and it's... this is the movie that... Squinting an acceptable form of communication. It forget dialogue like Clint. I can barely speak myself. Clint Eastwood's face did all the talking. This really, I think, put him on the map. This is the film. It's the holy grail of westerns, and the pinnacle of badassery, and a 3-hour tutorial on how to chew a cigar like your teeth are made of steel. Peter. Wow. So guys, this is number 10 on the IMDb top 250 of all time. Now, many of you may or may not know, we're going through all 250. It's going to probably take me the whole entire year of 2025. I'm going to be honest with you, I did a rough calculation a few days ago. I was like, whoa man, this is going to be a marathon, but we're going to go for it, lads, and we're at number 10. And what is this movie all about? Well, 3 guys, a desert, a buried fortune, and enough tension to make your grandpa's belt buckle pop off. We've got Blondie, the good, who's so kind of cool, he could make an ice cube shiver, lads. We've got Angel Eyes, the bad, who could kind of stare down a grizzly bear and make it apologize. And then Tuco, the ugly, who's what you get when you mix a used car salesman, a raccoon, an overeager cousin who always wants to borrow money. Together they embark on the most cutthroat treasure hunt since your family tried to divide up Granddad's will. Now, we've got to appreciate the genius of Sergio Leone here, lads. Really. It's... This man... This is made in 1966. 1966? You believe that? It's unbelievable. And it's in the top 10? It's incredible. And he was conducting an orchestra made up of gunfire, epic stairs, music so dramatic it made Beethoven's Fifth Symphony sound like a nursery rhyme, man. And, the score? Wow, it's scientifically proven to make anything 10 times more intense. Try it. Next time you're waiting for a text back, just hum it. Instant drama. Now, Blondie and Tuco, they kind of had this, hilarious partnership where Blondie keeps turning Tuco in for bounty money. Then breaking him out before he gets hanged, sort of thing, I won't give away too much here. Talk about kind of trust issues here. There's a little bit going on here. Meanwhile, we got Angel Eyes out there looking for gold, staring holes into people's soul. And along the way, we get gunfights, betrayals, desert dehydration that'd make you down a pint of water here, lads. One of the best war scenes in a Western now, because, this is all happening during the Civil War. And nothing says Wild West adventure like casually dodging cannonballs while trying to dig up some cash, baby. And then, oh baby, we get to the standoff. Now, I'm not going to give it away, so don't worry. But I'll just tell you sort of the background of it a little bit here. We get to one of the most iconic showdowns in cinema history, because it was one of the first, lads. It was the original. It's like Brando. Brando was the original of stillness acting. He created it. He invented it. So everybody from him got it from him. So how the hell could you say that they're better than him? Anyway, I'm kind of going off the beaten track here. But I picture this. 3 dudes in a graveyard, guns ready, sweat dripping, eyes darting, the music building like your anxiety when your boss says, "We need to talk, Peter." It's a scene very tense that you could sharpen a knife on it, and then bang, guns go off, bullets fly, and then there's, one man standing. That's all I'll say. And then one of the guys leaves one of the other guys some gold. He makes him dig it up, and then for good measure leaves him tied up with a noose around his neck. Jeez. But don't worry. Maybe he does something with the rope. We won't give it away too much. And then one of them heads off into the sunset, hat tilted, leaving us wondering, how does one man look that cool all the time? You know, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's not just a Western, lads. It's kind of like a lifestyle, you know? It's something that you gotta experience. It's the reason slow motion close-ups exists. Yeah. It's proof that a man with no name can come more charisma than 1,000 superheroes combined. So next time you hear that, well, you know, you're about to witness something legendary. Alright lads, let me ask you this. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, you know what's missing? I need a wizard, a bunch of hairy-footed weird hobbits, and a jewelry problem so big it could end the world? No? Well, that's exactly why you need to watch Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Because trust me lads, your Netflix queue is not going to teach you what to do if your best friend suddenly turns into a power-hungry gremlin over a shiny ring. I'm not even into sci-fi. In fact, I'll even go further. I detest sci-fi movies, TV programs. I hate them. But when it comes to Lord of the Rings, totally different story. Peter. Alright, here's the deal, lads. So, in the movie Middle-earth, it's in big trouble. Deep trouble. Guy named Sauron, alright? Literally flaming eyeball, weird fella, wants to dominate everyone using the One Ring. And isn't this your average bling, lads? This ring doesn't just sparkle. It corrupts your soul and turns you into a crazy, wide-eyed psychopath, okay? The only way to save the world? Destroy it. Really simple mission. And where's the conveniently indestructible price of evil located? Oh, you know. Just a quick hike into the most dangerous volcano ever. Guarded by orcs, these aggressive little fellas. Goblins and, yeah, a giant fiery demon. Sounds easy, right? Now, I gotta say, lads, this movie isn't just a story. It's an amazing masterpiece by the director, Peter Jackson. It's incredible. I mean, you've got epic landscapes, the kind you'd sell your house to visit, friendships so pure, they, in fairness, they tear you up. I gotta admit, it even got me, lads. Action sequences that'll have you clutching your couch cushions. And let's not forget Gandalf, played by Sir Ian McKellen, who's basically the fantasy equivalent of your wise but slightly unhinged grandpa on booze, right? Telling you to take the most ridiculous risks with zero plan. And then you've got the Fellowship. Now, I suppose an unlikely crew of hobbits, right? Men, elf, dwarf, Gandalf joins them too. They go on this journey and they face, you know, huge storms, stormy mountains. They face creepy forests, a whole bunch of near-death situations. Along the way, they learn that the ring isn't just hard to carry physically. It's a mental battle, a spiritual battle as well. And then you got Frodo. Now, he's a bit of a wimp, this little fella. But in very many ways, lads, he's a reluctant hero and gets hit with the weight of the world while the Fellowship tries to keep it all together. And, because, you know, spoiler it maybe, they don't. Because evil never waits patiently in line, lads. It throws orcs at you every chance it gets. And then, the climax. You're in the mines of Moria, I think that's what it's called. The walls are shaking, the drums of doom are pounding. Insane soundtrack, by the way, and the beats to this, the musical score it's a masterpiece. It really is, lads. And then you've got a towering demon of shadow and flames. This thing looked like it skipped anger management classes, lads. Gandalf tries to stand his ground, delivering the line, "You shall not pass." Now, I know everybody's probably heard that saying. I quite honestly, I think that's cringe and corny. I think it's, go away from me. But when you look at the acting performance, it's amazing by Gandalf, by Ian McKellen. And he got Oscar nominated for this, by the way, for this movie. Ian McKellen, the supporting actor. And, like, just when you think everything is safe, things are gone. Your heart sinks, lads. The fellowship is broken. You're screaming what happens next. But that's the brilliance. Now, what's it all about, really? Okay, like, it's not just epic battles and rings, lads, all right? It's not. I mean, obviously there's that. But, again, like a true masterpiece movie, you have the human side of them. We can all relate to this. It's about hope, perseverance, friendship in the face of overwhelming darkness. It reminds us that even the smallest people can change the course of history. I mean, really, you can look back at your history and stuff, and let's be real. Once you start, you're locked in for the whole trilogy, lads, and we'll cover the whole trilogy as we go here. And honestly, isn't it better than scrolling through TikTok for 3 hours? Watch it. You gotta watch it. And believe me, you'll be putting on The Two Towers, which is the next one afterwards, followed by The Return of the King. Lord of the Rings. Truly epic. Imagine this. You're sitting there about to have your favorite dinner, lads, and you're about to dig into a glorious stack of pancakes. And the couple next to you suddenly whip out a couple of guns. Guns, right? And announces a robbery. Now, do you panic? Well, do you call for help? Or think, this feels oddly cinematic, right? Welcome to Pulp Fiction, lads, because a movie where chaos and brilliance collide over pancakes, royale with cheese, and a mysterious glowing briefcase. Peter. Wow. Now here's the thing. Most movies, lads, right? They spoon feed you with the story to, with a good beginning, a middle, and an end, right? Pulp Fiction doesn't care about the traditional storytelling needs. I mean, it's sheer genius what Tarantino has done. He was really the first to throw in all sorts of weird random scenes and put them into a movie. He was the first. I mean, it was a ballsy move, lads. And it throws you into timeline as scrambled as Vincent Vega's breakfast here. By the way, that's Vincent Vega from the character in Pulp Fiction, if you've not seen this. It's confusing. It's wild. You'll find yourself asking, why are we rooting for hitmen who argue about foot massages and accidentally blow people's heads off? I mean, because Pulp Fiction makes you question things, makes you question a lot of things. Is good really good? Is bad really bad? And most importantly, what's in that damn briefcase? So let's just paint the picture here now. Background, lads. 1994, this movie came out. 1994, okay? Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, it was the cinematic wrecking ball Hollywood didn't know it needed. I mean, it really did. It really needed to have that spanner in the works, that fly in the soup, to adjust things, right? At the time, movies, they were polished, predictable, and, a lot of them were a bit boring, And then this comes along. Kind of a dark comedy, kind of ridiculous, a film that intertwines stories about hitmen, a boxer, a mob boss, a drugged out Uma Thurman, we won't give away too much, humor, violence, dialogue so sharp, you'd frame it on a picture frame on your wall. And you're drawn into bizarre, gripping situations, lads. Vincent Vega by Travolta, dancing awkwardly with Mia Wallace. Fantastic scene, by the way. I mean, it's amazing the way two people can just light up the screen with just a simple dance, and you're right there with them, lads. You're involved. You're included in that scene. It's insane. And then oh God, where do I keep going? Then you got Jules, right? Samuel L. Jackson delivering a Bible verse so terrifying and odd, if you could call it that. It'd have you reevaluating your life choices. And then you got Bruce Willis, a boxer who defies mob rules, somehow ends up in a pawn shop straight out of your own worst nightmare, and creepy nightmares. And then each scene, it builds tension, it flips your expectations, it leaves you hungry for more, just like the Big Kahuna Burger. And then The film takes you on one of the tensest, funniest, most weird standoffish scenes in movie history. Jules, wielding his signature monologue about redemption, Samuel L. Jackson versus Pumpkin and Honey Bunny. You'll get what I mean when you see the movie, lads, if you haven't seen it. The most chaotic diner robbers ever. But now you're not just watching story, you're living the story. And every heartbeat, it matches the tension on screen as you realize that for all its chaos, Pulp Fiction is weaving a surprisingly profound tale about second chances and unlikely heroes. So why does everybody need to watch Pulp Fiction? Well, lads, it's more than a movie. It's a goddamn experience. It's masterclass in dialogue, storytelling. You'll find yourself laughing and then cringing at the same time within the space of 2 or 3 seconds. And you'll finally understand what a Royale with cheese is, by the way, after this movie. That's for goddamn sure. Trust me, you'll never look at a diner, a briefcase, and John Travolta the same way again. And I said it already, what is in that goddamn briefcase? Everybody is just dying to know. Everybody is always wondering what is in it. We think it's a certain thing, but is it? Really? I don't know. Lads, pure goddamn masterpiece. This put Tarantino on the map. Yeah, he had Reservoir Dogs before this, but it really did, guys. It escalated him to that next level. Hollywood A-lister of screenplay writers, directors. It truly masterpiece. And back in 1994 when it was out, it took over the world by storm. It was pop culture. It was alive, lads. I mean, it was cool to watch this movie. And not just because it's cool. It's goddamn amazing. Hey lads, imagine standing in the face of unimaginable evil. Humanity seems to be swallowed whole by darkness. World War II, we all know the story. Would you have the courage to fight it, to save someone's life? Imagine saving over 1,000. That's the story of Schindler's List. And a film that it's not just a movie, but a mirror reflecting the very best and the very worst of what it means to be human. Peter. Wow. Obviously, guys, set in World War II, just world ravaged by the Holocaust and that absolute C-word, Adolf Hitler, where millions were being slaughtered simply because of just who they were. That's it. Racist son of so-and-so. Oskar Schindler, a German businessman and a member of the Nazi Party, finds himself at a crossroads. And, he begins the film as a man of ambition, self-interest. He's motivated, exploiting Jewish labor for profit. Let's not make a mistake about it, lads. The guy ends up being a hero, but he was one of the dark side here. He was one of the dark lords of the Sith here, and he was taking advantage at the start of the movie, taking advantage of the Jews. And, as the horror escalates around him, though, families torn apart, children crying out for their parents, lives is extinguished in the blink of an eye, Schindler is confronted with the ultimate question. Will he remain complicit in the system that's destroying millions? Or will he risk everything to save who he can? So a bit of background, lads, if you've never heard of Oskar Schindler. Okay, look, it's directed by Steven Spielberg. Masterpiece. He won the Oscar for this. Incredible. Schindler's List, lads, it's based on a true story of Oskar Schindler. That's his real name. And the 1,200 Jewish men and women and children he saved during the Holocaust. I mean, whoa, I'm actually tearing up here almost. Shot in haunting black and white, that the film immerses you in the bleak, harrowing reality of the Nazi-occupied Poland. It's not just a history lesson, it's an experience. It's one that forces you to confront the atrocities of the past so they're never repeated again. And this is where transition here comes in for Oscar, guys. During the movie, the tension builds hugely as Schindler, he moves from a passive observer to an active savior. He begins forging documents, bribing Nazi officials, risking his wealth and life to protect his workers. Meanwhile, we're introduced to Eamon Goth. Oh dear Lord. Pure evil, this guy, whose cruelty contrasts sharply with Schindler's growing humanity. Each scene of suffering and injustice raises the stakes higher and higher, leaving you questioning, how far can a man go to stand against an ocean of hatred? And the climax is gut-wrenching. Schindler, having spent his entire fortune, and this guy was a rich man, he saved it, he blew it all to save lives, breaks down, lamenting the fact that he couldn't save more. This car, he says, and I quote, "This car, why did I keep it? 10 people right there." It's a moment that, see, look, I'm even getting emotional here. Insane. It's a moment that sears into your soul. It's a powerful, powerful reminder of both the fragility and the strength of humanity. And Schindler, he saves more than 1,000 lives, yet he's consumed by guilt for those that he could not help. It's in this moment you realize the cost of doing good in the face of evil. But there is hope, lads, there is. The final scenes show the descendants of Schindler's Jews. Thousands of them live because of him. That's right. Generations after generations. Absolutely amazing. And it reminds us that even in the darkest times, one person, they can make an extraordinary difference. You know, watching Schindler's List, it ain't easy. It's not supposed to be. It's necessary. It reminds us the depths of the dark side and the way we can fall into that pit and the heights to which it can rise at the same time. It's a film we'll never forget, because forgetting would be a goddamn tragedy. This isn't just a movie, it's a call to action. And to be brave, to stand up, to remember, because as the film so powerfully teaches us, and there's a quote here, "Whoever saves one life saves the world entire." Ladies and gentlemen, Schindler's List. We all know the Holocaust. We all know about World War II and Adolf Hitler. Some people might not know of Oskar Schindler. You might have heard the movie. You might think it's too intense to watch. But I'm just going to say it really simply. You need to watch this movie. So let's talk about Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, the movie that had way too many endings, that's for sure. I mean, it was, they dragged it out, lads. It's a great show, but way too many endings, don't we? Like, sometimes it feels like we're all just walking towards something we don't know how to finish, like the world's falling apart, and we're just trying to hold on to whatever we can. I think that a lot of us can relate to this in many ways of our life. And what happens when you fought so long, you can't even remember what it was all for? Peter. Okay, Middle Earth. It's crumbling. It's going down so fast, man. Everywhere you look, darkness is swallowing the light, and the fight never stops. You know, you'd think by now they realize it's hopeless too. Right? But no, in fairness, there's still a fight to be had. And, you know, Lord of the Rings, it's very good this way. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of character in this. You know, the free people are scattered, broken, hanging by a thread. But the real question is, how do you keep going when you don't even know if it'll matter in the end? All right, bit of background. Now, I'm sure most people have seen this movie, but hey, you never know. We're talking about a bunch of regular folks who got caught up, lads, in something way bigger than themselves. And Frodo, the smallest of them, with this insane responsibility, a hobbit of all people, barely out of the Shire, and suddenly it's all on him to destroy the One Ring. Yeah, no one should ever have to carry that. But it's always the ones who you shouldn't end up relying on doing the most, right? You know, you'd be surprised. And he wasn't alone. Sam, his best friend, never left his side. You know, it's kind of heartwarming, I gotta say. It's like they knew something, maybe that together they could make it through the worst of it. And every step closer to Mount Doom, the weight of all its it started to crush them down, lads. It started to really break them down. Frodo couldn't even see a way out anymore at the stage. I won't give away too much. The ring, damn ring, man. It's claws in deep. And Sam, very heartwarming, and it almost break your heart, that it's corny, cringy a bit, but Sam kept pushing him forward, and you gotta say, it does actually, it's it sells you, man. And no matter how bad it got, he was there, and it was actually very charming, in fairness. And it's insane, really. You look at them and wonder, what is it that makes people going, even when it feels like nothing can be saved? Is there a way out? Then you get to the real gut punch, lads. It's not about just fighting the armies of darkness. It's about fighting that voice in your head that tells you you're not enough. You're too small to make a difference. Frodo has that moment. Sam has the moment. Hell, we all do, right? Eventually, at some point in our lives, like I'm saying. And you can't beat the enemy. You have to face that feeling of, I can't do this. And it's only that they're at their lowest that you realize maybe they've already done more than they ever thought they could do. And then the ending. We won't give away anything here now, lads, on the Peter Walsh Show, but eventually it is over. The fight ends. But it's not this big, loud, perfect ending, which I do applaud Peter Jackson, the director, for this. That there's no clean wrap-up. It's messy. It's messy. It's the little moments that matter. The ones when you think you've lost everything, but you find something you weren't expecting. And maybe it's just the idea that after all of it, the blood, the sweat, the sacrifices, there's still room for hope. And that's, no matter how far you've gone, you feel, you can always choose to keep walking. Ladies and gents, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, it is a very, very good show. And if you've seen it before, well, hey, take out the trilogy, man, because in many ways, it's a masterpiece. But in many ways, it's, like we're saying, very messy, all over the place, rough, way too many endings. I wasn't impressed with that. I was just like, oh my Lord, will this ever end? They did drag it out a bit too much. And at the end, just a little too corny. But overall, fantastic movie. Get out the trilogy, lads, and start watching. And hey, queue up The Hobbit maybe afterwards too. All right, lads, this is one hell of a show. 12 Angry Men. Okay, imagine this scenario. Picture this. You're locked in a room with 11 different strangers. You don't know any of them. All debating the fate of a young man's life. Not just that, the pressure is so immense, the stakes couldn't be higher, right? You're in court. This guy's life is on the line. What happens when 12 jurors with their own biases, convictions, and fears are forced to confront their beliefs in the pursuit of justice? 12 Angry Men is a timeless film, lads, that will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about fairness, morality, and human nature. Peter. Wow. Okay, lads, now the central conflict of this movie, right, it revolves around kind of a simple murder trial, one would think, where a young man is accused of killing his father, right? So, the stakes are very high here. And then with the jury's initial vote, almost unanimous in favor of conviction, right? I mean, it's quite impressive in a weird, disturbing way how, yeah, that's it, cutthroat, clear case, cut, done, the guy's guilty. But one juror number 8, begins to question the evidence and insists that they deliberate further. I mean, it's like his stance challenges the group. It stirring up deep divisions between those who are ready to convict and those who believe there is more to uncover. So let's paint the picture here, lads. Now, this movie was released in 1957, and I'm telling you, lads, I only watched this for the very first time only just a few years ago, and it blew my mind away, honestly. It just blew my mind away. It absolutely messes with your head. It's timeless. You know, there's no special effects. There's no CGI. There's none needed because this is about what we all go through on a day-to-day basis when, you know, we're so convinced that something, and then all of a sudden then someone just comes along with just that little extra viewpoint, that little stone in your shoe, right? That just makes you collapse and wonder, have you made the proper decision, you know? I mean, really. And it's directed by Sidney Lumet. It's adapted by, I think, is it Rose's Teleplay. And the film takes place in a single room. 12 jurors deliberate the fate of a teenage boy. And, you know, as the tension rises, the film shines a light on the complexities of us. How much idiots we can be, all of us. And it exposes prejudice, assumptions, and the need for careful deliberation in the justice system. I mean, if this is anything to go by in real life, this is freaky what these people get up to in these back rooms. Okay, so then the rising action here, lads, as juror number 8 begins to present doubts, right? The jury slowly begins to unravel. And then kind of a bit of a, you know, one by one, the juror reveals their hidden biases, their fears, their personal struggles, their attitude toward the trial shift, right? Arguments, and I mean arguments, get bloody heated here, lad. Personal history surface. Everyone's sense of justice is tested. The tension mounts, right, as juror number 8 fights to ensure, lads, that each individual examines the evidence with a clear mind, pushing the other jurors to question their initial assumptions and confront the truth beneath the surface. Now, then we really get down to it here now, lads, all right? The climax occurs when, like, the jury's final vote is tied, all right? And the one last critical piece of evidence is revealed, tipping the scales in favor of doubt. Juror number 8, was he right? And the intensity in the room is insane as each juror is forced to confess their conscience. I mean, can you imagine what it's like to be in these rooms? If you're watching this, have you ever been in this? I'm sure you know what it is all about. I don't, but I mean, you really do get a really good sense of, whoa, man, I don't want to be in this situation. Seriously, you know, jury duty, it's no joke, man, especially if it's a murder trial. And like the emotional weight of the case, whether or not an innocent boy will lose his life, it reaches its peak. Now, I won't give anything away, lads, okay? But you've got to watch this movie now. At the end, they obviously come to a decision. I won't say either which way. But I mean, it's transformed each and every person in that room. I mean, and it's fascinating. Again, 1957 movie, lads. 1957. It's insane how good this powerful, real human, raw emotion, lads, I'm telling you. And, you know, 12 Angry Men, it's not just about a trial. It really is about the complexities of human judgment, the danger of prejudice, and the importance of standing up for what's right. And I think we could all take a page out of this juror number 8's book here, even when it's uncomfortable. And that doesn't give away anything, by the way, all right? I'm just saying that juror number 8 is, you know, he did have powerful opinions and really kept his ways and not being stubborn by just looking at the facts and walking through it, you know? And like the film is essential watch because, you know, it reminds us that justice is not about the law. It's about the people who interpret the law. So we're going to wrap it up here, lads. But, you know, 12 Angry Men, it's not just a courtroom drama. It's a profound exploration of democracy, moral responsibility, the power of dialogue. Whether you're a fan of classic cinema, a student of human nature, the film will make you think long after the credits roll. Seriously, I would be surprised. Like, I'm sure, there's no doubt, I think, you'll watch this movie and you'll see the different opinions in the room. And, you know, their approach to looking at the evidence. I'm very certain here, you'll actually know someone who's very similar to one of these characters, and you're like, oh my God, that reminds me of Uncle Joe or someone. Like, we all know someone who's in this jury room. It's insane, man. It's actually kind of freaky, and it'll make you think long after the credits roll. It's a masterpiece that proves the power of one voice, and importance of standing up for truth, even when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. Ladies and gentlemen, I recommend 12 Angry Men. You know that moment when you're scrolling through Netflix and all the streaming services out there, lads, and you aimlessly think and you say to yourself, what's the point of life anymore? Well, you know, the point of life is to watch The Godfather Part 2. Because this is probably the greatest sequel of all time. See, here's the problem, right, lads? With The Godfather Part 2, when somebody hasn't seen it, they think it's a lot about mobsters, violence, and it's just a bunch of guys eating spaghetti and cannoli, right? No. The Godfather Part 2, it's a masterclass in family, betrayal, power, big one, and regret. Huge, deep regret for one of the main characters. I won't give anything away, but, you know, it's like Shakespeare, but with better outfits, more creative ways to settle arguments, whether it's killing somebody, whacking somebody, or whether it's actually having it just out-to-out, face-to-face with somebody. Normal communication, right? That's what you'd be thinking. But, I mean, guys, you know, you got Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro probably gives the greatest performance he's ever given. And he's only in a supporting role here. And let's not forget, he's playing the Marlon Brando figure of Vito Corleone. He's now being the younger version of him in Godfather Part 2. It's gripping, it's riveting. Oh, let's go. Let's keep going. Okay, lads, let me set the picture here for you. You got the movies, the sequel, the prequel to the original Godfather. It's like if time travel actually worked, but without the confusion of Doc Brown screaming at you. You've got young Vito Corleone, like we said, De Niro, building his empire in the early 1900s. And, of course, Michael Corleone, Al Pacino, in the 1950s. In the dismantling his soul, brick by brick. It's two timelines, one epic tragedy, and about 47,000 Oscar-worthy performances. The flashbacks, amazing. And, you know, the movie takes you on a journey, lads. So gripping. Like, you'll forget that your popcorn's in your hand if you were watching this in the cinema. And the tension in every corner. Michael trying to hold everything together, okay? The crumbling empire coming down on top of him. You've got Fredo, the sweet, useless loser brother Fredo, making the world's worst decisions. And flashbacks to young Vito, De Niro, proving that if you mess with an Italian dude, you're going to get in trouble. And then the betrayal. Oh, dear Lord. This will make you think your own family, lads. This will make you think your friends. Are they really this close to me? Will they screw me over? I won't even give away the line that might actually kind of give away a little bit, right? But there's one line in this. People even still say this to this day, lads. 30 to 40 years later, people are still quoting this line every single day. You know, on YouTube, on streaming services, on social media like TikToks and things like this. Even, you know, your own friend would probably even say it to you. You know, it would haunt you like the time you accidentally liked your ex's Instagram's post from a couple of years ago. Like the heartbreak, the drama, the sheer poetry of it all, and it's just done in such a classical way, a masterpiece from Francis Ford Coppola. And the moment is why we, like, as humans, invented movies in the first place. Now, at the end of this movie, lads, you'll be sitting there kind of probably stunned in silence, wondering what the hell has just happened. What is family? What is loyalty? Does this stuff really happen in the world? Well, that's something you're going to have to ask yourself. Is there a wrong way to eat spaghetti? And you'll realize something so profound, lads. The Godfather 2 isn't just a movie, it's a goddamn experience. And, you know, it's the cinematic equivalent of that one perfect slice of pizza that ruins all other pizzas forever. Now, unless we're talking about maybe Terminator 2, that was an unbelievable sequel. But Godfather, I think has to be the masterpiece. Okay, lads, so let's just round this up, all right? So why does everyone need to see this movie? Because if you don't, someone eventually in your life is going to corner you at a party and spend 45 minutes explaining what you're missing out on. Now, I'm doing it in the shorter version, right? But this is going to happen. And save yourself that awkward encounter. Like, do yourself a favor. Get it over and done with. Even if you don't love it that much, just get it done. Watch The Godfather Part 2, lads. And then join in the rest of us judging one certain character in this sequel. Classic sequel. Trust me, this is an offer you can't refuse. Let me put it this way, lads. If you've not seen The Dark Knight, I'm not mad. I'm just deeply, deeply disappointed. You're out here watching mediocre superhero movies, lads. If you haven't seen this, where the villain's big plan is stealing a shiny rock. And if you've missed this, the movie that made Why So Serious the most menacing 3 words in cinema. Fix it immediately. Peter. Wow. Now the real question is, why haven't you watched this movie, lads? I mean, it's because you think it's just another Batman movie? You know, you think it's some, like, campy guy running around the place in tights shouting kapow like the old ones in the 60s? Come on, lads. It can't be like this. This is a high-stakes battle between chaos and order. Christian Bale being Batman, growing like he swallowed a gravel pit, and Heath Ledger delivering probably the greatest performance of all time. And I'm not talking about best actor, best supporting actor, best actress, best supporting actress. I'm talking about throwing every one of those 4 into the same pool and picking who's the greatest out of all of them. And the greatest performance, I think, is Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. He changed things. Literally, this man changed things. He's terrifying, funny, witty, just an charisma falling off the screen. And, you know, if you're avoiding it because it's long, what's your excuse for sitting through a 4-hour director's cut of Justice League? That's a lot of crap compared to this. All right, lads, we got the setup. Gotham City, hanging by a thread. Crime is through the roof. The mob's on the rise. They're really kicking ass. And Batman, the billionaire boy, punching his way through the problem as always. Then he shows up. The Joker. This isn't your goofy make him laugh Joker. This Oscar-winning performance. You really have to see it. He's pure chaos in clown plaint. I mean, it's unbelievable. Flipping every rule of the superhero game, lads. Meanwhile, you got Harvey Dent out there trying to play the hero, and we all know how that turns out. If you don't know, I won't say it, but if you know it, you know. It's like Shakespeare, but with explosions and, well, way cooler outfits. Now here, lads, the opening scene of The Dark Knight is superb. It really gets you right into the movie. It just grips you. And from the opening bank heist, which, let's be real, is a better movie than full movies, to the Joker's absolutely bonkers social experiments. You can only save one boat. Well, you'll see what that means. The film, it grips you tighter than Batman's cape in a windstorm, lads. And every scene, it escalates the stakes. I mean, will Batman stop the Joker? Can he stop the Joker? Will Gotham survive? And most importantly, will Christian Bale's Batman's voice hold up? I mean, will he cough up a lung? It is quite deep. He is amazing in this, but You'd wonder. And then the climax hits, lads. The Joker's plan comes alight. Harvey Two-Face starts flipping coins, losing his mind. I'm not going to try and give anything away. And then Batman makes a big sacrifice. Not his life, but I won't go far. But he makes a big sacrifice, which leads into the trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. But we will review that as well in the meantime. But, I mean, the guy literally is willing to put it all on the line, Batman. I mean, it's heroic. It really is. It's ballsy. It mightn't even work. But, again, you'll have to decide for yourself. That's right, lads. Batman really, really puts it on the line here. I think, lads, by the end of the movie, I think you will sit there shocked, mesmerized by the performances and the movie itself in a whole. Christopher Nolan has delivered a masterpiece. Heath Ledger delivered an epic, unforgettable performance. And I think you'll probably come out going just, whoa, man, I just watched an absolute... you watched art in the making. I mean, it's unreal, lads. And it's not just a superhero movie. It's a psychological thriller. It's a crime epic. A morality played all rolled into one. And it redefined what comic book movies could be. And frankly, everything else has been really, lads, playing catch up ever since. So, lads, do yourself a favor. Watch The Dark Knight. If you've seen it before, well, watch it again. Do yourself a favor. I mean, because you know what? Unlike Gotham, you actually deserve something this good. Now, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to watch The Godfather Part 1. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Because if you don't watch this movie, you are missing out on, quite simply, the greatest story that has ever been crafted and put to film. Peter. Wow. Now here's the thing. People hesitate with this movie. They think it's just another old mafia movie, right? They're so wrong. It's about gangsters. What could it teach me about life? I don't care. I've seen it all before. Let me tell you something here. You haven't seen it all before. This is the original. This is the mothership of mafia movies. This is where it all came from, lads, okay? Beautifully crafted. It's not just about gangsters, it's about power, family, betrayal, and the human condition. And you're depriving yourself of brilliance every second you don't hit play, lads. Genuinely. And, it's not just a movie, it's a life lesson in 3 hours, lads. Wrapped in stunning visuals, dialogue that stays with you for years. You've got Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan, and so many other more greats. Robert Duvall, can't forget him. Some of the greatest actors of all time that are starring in this. The Godfather is considered a masterpiece, lads. Not just because of Oscar-winning Marlon Brando here. He won the Oscar for this. Yeah, that's right. And he's the greatest actor of all time. But it's the haunting score by Nino Rota. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'd question any human being that has never heard The Godfather. It would be a shock to the system. It reflects life's grey areas. Good and bad blur into one, right? You've got Vito Corleone, the man, terrible things he does, but he loves, obviously, his kids. You got Michael, the reluctant son. He never wanted to be part of the business, but funnily enough, he gets to the head of the business. I mean, and how does he do it? Well, you'll have to see. Now, as you watch, the tension builds like a symphony, lads, right? There's the wedding scene, the opening scene. Joyful, fun, chaotic, but at the same time laced with secrets. You can feel this there's a darkness just teasing its way up onto the surface as you watch the wedding scene, right? There you've got the power play between the Corleones and the families begins here. This is all where it all begins. And the scene in the hospital where Michael stands guard over his dad. Okay, we won't be ruining anything for you here, lads. You know, that's a tense scene, man. That's a really tense scene. And then the restaurant, probably, well, it has to be in the top 3 scenes of all time. Because the restaurant scene, and I'll leave it at that, okay? It's a real turning point for one of the characters. And from this scene on, you really buy into who this character is. I'm not going to say anything. I won't spoil anything for you. But, you know, it's not just a plot twist. It's a character metamorphosis, right? The quiet son, that's all I'll say. The quiet son becomes the cold-blooded leader, and you can't look away. And then the baptism scene. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this movie now was made before they really had blockbuster action Hollywood hits. So you got to remember and take that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're watching this movie. I mean, the baptism scene, just wow, man. There's innocence, sin, devotion, there's chaos, life, there's death. There's, you know, Michael renounces Satan in church, lads. His enemies are wiped out with brutal precision. And that moment, that's cinema, lads. It's cinema, pure cinema gold. That's storytelling at its finest. This is why The Godfather is untouchable, lads. Now, by the time the credits roll, I really think, whether you're a man or a woman, I think you'll be in awe. Not just of the story, lads, but how it makes you feel. It's not just entertainment. It's enlightening. I honestly think it is. You know, you'll probably question loyalty, morality, how far you'd go to protect what matters most. I think when you finally understand Michael shuts the door on Kay in the final shot, you realize you've just witnessed perfection. Perfection. So what are you waiting for? Don't just sit around, lads. Watch it and let it change you. And, you know, when you've done, come back and we'll talk about The Godfather Part 2 as well, and Part 3 coming up. The Godfather Part 1 isn't just a movie, lads. It's an offer you can't refuse. Oh, yeah, it's the goddamn Shawshank Redemption. Onays, lads. This movie is unbelievable. Now, look, if you haven't seen The Shawshank Redemption, I wouldn't say that you failed at life, but you failed at life. Guys, I mean, throw it out. Your Netflix subscription. Throw it out. Waste of money. Okay? Save yourself the $20 for the month. All right? And go off and rent Shawshank Redemption if you have to. Okay? Lads, seriously, you gotta do it. Because this movie is number 1 on IMDb Top 250. Number 1 of all time. It's been sitting up there minimum for the last 15 years at number 1. Nothing has come to beat it yet. It hasn't even gone down to 2 for like 4 seconds and then back up again. It's fixed at number 1. And I'll tell you, lads, The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises is my favorite movies of all time. I always kind of go between the both. But you know something? This movie, Shawshank, is the only movie in the world that I find it hard to disagree if somebody says that it's the best movie of all time. I can't argue. Peter. Wow. Okay, here's the setup. We got Andy Dufresne. Tim Robbins, baby. I've never been a huge fan of his, but he's good in this, man. He's really good. Mild-mannered banker. That's Stephen to give him some credit. He's the most boring, plain old fella you'd ever meet in your life. Like, I mean, if you saw this guy in a bar, you'd be avoiding him like the plague. You wouldn't want to be going anywhere near him. Okay? And then you know, he's wrongfully imprisoned for killing his so-called wife and her lover. And let me tell you, man. Let me tell you, lads. The man gets handed a prison sentence so long, it makes the Irishman feel like a TikTok clip. Okay? And, you know, instead of moping around like the rest of us would, Andy just kind of gets to work in this movie. You start to admire the guy. cool, calculated. I mean, it's unreal. And it, not just on surviving, he gets to work, but not just on surviving. The guy's, he's thriving in jail. He's making friends, building libraries, outsmarting everyone that comes across his path in the most satisfying way possible. I mean, it's like Ocean's 11, but with less Clooney and more existential dread. Now, lads, the tension in this movie, okay, let me tell you, it'll have you gripping your popcorn so tight, lads, it turns to diamond dust. You got Andy, corrupt prison officials, Andy versus despair. Most importantly, Andy versus the sewage pipe. That's all I'll say. I won't say any more. It'll ruin the movie. And let's be honest, most of us wouldn't even survive what happens to this lad at the end of the movie. Okay? That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. And, you know, Andy, throughout the movie, he does things with determination, commitment, passion, patience. Cool as a serial killer, man, ready to pounce on his next victim, just waiting in the wings. I mean, the guy's unbelievable. And then we get to the goddamn climax. Oh, lads, let me tell you, this climax, probably the greatest climax twist the world has ever seen in a movie. This was the mothership of climax and twists in movies, lads. Now, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not giving away anything. But you know something? When Andy's been working and comes across together in the most jaw-dropping, satisfying twists, it's like watching your favorite team score the winning goal in the World Cup. Except your team is one guy, a rock hammer, and a dream. All right, lads, we got some resolution going on here now, right? By the end of the movie, lads, you'll feel like you've been spiritually cleansed. I mean, it's not just a movie. It's a masterclass, really, in hope, resilience, it's sticking to something, right? And I mean, really, the whole movie does revolve around the theme of hope. And, you know, you will start coming out of this movie. It's a feel-good movie. It's gripping. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat, man. And it does, without sounding corny here, it really does give you, there is hope in the world. You know, I mean, like, guys, people think, you know, people just make up scripts in Hollywood and anywhere around the world. But honestly, like, if you knew Hollywood, a lot of Hollywood writers and directors, producers, they go and visit psychiatrists. They talk about certain directions that people take in their life. How does it affect them? Why does it affect them? You know, like getting to know your character, getting to know a movie, because the closer they get to real life, people can relate to it, right? So that's why you'll see some movie and you go, oh my Lord, that's me, man. You know, that's not an accident. They don't just throw words together. They're using what they've learned from psychologists and putting it in onto the big screen. And, you know, maybe you'll enjoy this movie. If you don't, you'll enjoy... You're missing out on a cultural milestone. And, you know, and people will be saying in bars, remember Red's speech? Pure poetry, man. You don't want to be that person, do you? I mean, this is what we're talking about, lads. So do yourself a favor, lads, and go watch The Shawshank Redemption. It is unbelievable. It is, for me, one of the top 10 movies of all time. Yeah, like I said, hard to argue with anybody that would say, hey, Peter, come on, man, it is the greatest movie of all time. It's hard to disagree with them. It really is. I grew up on this movie. It's like the mothership of movies that you don't see in the cinema. I mean, this movie actually flopped, believe it or not, at the cinema. It got nominated for Best Picture, got nominated for loads of awards, didn't win any. But the moment it hit video and DVD, bang, the biggest success ever. Very strange. So definitely stay-at-home feel-good movie. You gotta watch it, man. And Morgan Freeman is the narrator in this movie, and if his voice does not take you over, I don't know what will. And, you know, if you don't watch this movie, if Morgan Freeman has to narrate your life, he's gonna sound very disappointed. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you The Shawshank Redemption.
Peter.
Wow.
Wallach.